Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is Midderzine Issue 1 for the Midderlands OSR setting by MonkeyBlood Design. Okay, first a bit of history. Released in 2018, Midderzine No. 1 is a 24-page small-format fanzine for MonkeyBlood Design's Midderlands setting, a setting that is particularly close to my heart, as it is the first OSR book that I ever reviewed on my channel. It's available in PDF from DriveThruRPG and in print from MonkeyBlood Design's web store. To the cover. Here we have a fairly basic affair, with the back being a tad more interesting, with an illustration of heraldic insignia and a note that this particular copy is part of the first printing of 500 copies. Onto the inside. We have an introduction to the Midderzine Issue 1 from Glyn, where he talks about how the setting has grown, and that the purpose was to produce new articles, information on locations, classes, monsters, races, spells, flora and fauna that are all to be used in the Midderlands, the Haven Isles and beyond. The first piece is called Meet the Midderlander, which gives a basic interview with Jim Magnusson, a Swedish artist on the Midderlands setting. This is followed by the Haven Gazette. This is a kind of mock news roundup from a local Havenland newspaper. It quite amusingly shows a count on the number of dead and missing people from that particular month, which includes reasons such as taken in the night, turned into devil, mud cow stampede, consumed by neighbours, and consumed by badgers. The articles are the likes of a gambler priest winning a keep that is laden with tax debt, a part called Garden Goblin's Corner, where the residential garden expert, Mulch Fairtwiddle, gives answers to the best ways to keep a garden slug-free, which aside from eating them, includes a ritualistic salt circle where you declare yourself the salt master. There's news on a tax collector going missing, and one on the craze of the card game Witch Pig sweeping the Haven Isles, with the cleverly named Tolbean Moorcock, the Witchfinder General, declaring the game having possible allegiances with devilry. There is news on the shark folk terrorising Scarburg, a monument of the Queen being vandalised in Yarmouth, with the promise of 200 gold quids as a reward for the return of the head, and a giant 12-foot-long eye being washed ashore in Grimsberg. After this we have information on some of the hexes on the map of the Haven Isles, along with the actual hex number. On hex 0610 there is the plinth of Dulham Fields, a field of headstones from a conflict 600 years ago. There is the ruins of the Cock and Pocket Inn on location 2609. Rat Dog Tor on 3615. This is fully mapped and statted out for those foolish adventurers who want to take a look. We have a new village on Hex M21 called Stone Castle, which includes a stone circle which is not what it seems and is fully mapped out. All of the main places are labelled and described. There's a new cult, the Eyeless Harrowers. These are a group of monks that have lived in a sprawling monastery on Hex 0603 for over 200 years. They're all blind, though manage to walk about and interact as if they could see. The only interaction they have with the outside world is selling the ale they brew to the local taverns. The head of the monastery is Brother Fane, an eyeless man with a saggy face who has grown bitter and seeks solitude and vengeance. Following this we have some new NPCs. It's worth mentioning that while the drawings are good, they are not the actual people. There is Edmund Fester of Hull, a cleric devoted to the Watcher from the Shore and compulsive gambler, the very holy man who won the keep from earlier. There's also Colin Lacroix, a Crowmaster, a new class detail later on. There are a few monsters. The Gloom Rat, a horrible creature the size of a dog that delivers a nasty bite. The Cat Vial, a hairless feline horror that is hard to kill due to its 9 lives special ability, and whose skin can be crafted into a cloak that can hide the wearer in the shadows. And the Devil's Goat, a horror that drifts through the nether realms that is part octopus, part goat. We then have the new class, the Crowmaster. These are a kind of strange, specialised druid that have learned the way of crows, rooks, ravens, jackdaws, magpies and jays. They have very crow-centric powers such as speaking with crows, the Crowmaster, and even Crowsteed, which summons a giant pony-sized crow that can act as a mount. There are some very appropriately named spells too. After this we have new oddities. These are magic items that can be made from or are associated with the monsters in the book, such as the Cat Vial Cloak, Cat Vial Spittle, which can be used for healing, and the Goat Orb, which can summon angry goats to protect the orb wielder. There's also the Cursed Witch Pig deck that stops the owner from winning games just by owning it, and finally the Doom Shield. There are only 6 of these in existence, and they are powerful magic items that protect the wielder while also bestowing abilities upon them. Lastly we have Flora and Fauna. There are goblin flies. These are the size of birds, have faces that resemble those of hook-nosed walk goblins, and are thought to be the result of a cruel experiment. They attack by dive-bombing their victims, and they inject their eggs into livestock, which produces cadaver worms, which are detailed next. There's also the snagweed, a kelp-like plant that catches onto skin, clothing and equipment, entangling the unfortunate soul and raising their chances of drowning. And lastly, we have demon feathers. These are a collection of fronds that resemble feathers that release a clear gas that can cause victims to pass out. The fronds then drag the victim to the moor at the base of the plant that will devour them and turn their bodies to plant bile within 2 hours using the corrosive acid contained within. If you're a fan of the Midderlands setting, and let's face it, why wouldn't you be, then the Midderzine is a must-have. It's pretty cheap, and the material contained within is found nowhere else. It's all written by the creators of the setting, and has lots of really gameable material. The places are interesting, and all have something to offer. Also, tying the new magic items and curiosities to the new monsters within it is actually a really clever decision, as it's all related. Obviously, pretty much everything here can be easily inserted into most OSR fantasy games, though I feel the Midderlands is the best setting to get the most out of it. Price-wise, it's actually really decent, and the printing is well done. All of the art is bespoke, and the writing has that grim Midderlands feel that we all seem to be gluttons for punishment to. If you have a craving for the new Midderlands material in between waiting for the next book to come out, the Midderzine is definitely for you. I give it an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Also, if you're interested in buying this product, put some links below. Lastly, if you like what I produce here, then maybe think about supporting me on Patreon or even becoming a member of my YouTube channel. Bud out.